Okay, so let's take a look at the new patch notes. New features, new keyword. Ooh, new keywords are always interesting. Flanking. If this unit is adjacent to only one card on your melee row, its end of turn abilities trigger twice. On your range row, gain 1 armor at the end of your turn. Okay, so flanking is new. If this unit is adjacent to only one card on your melee row, its end of turn ability is triggered twice. On your range row, gain 1 armor at the end of turn. Okay, so basically if it is next to only one card, this will trigger. So on the range row, you get 1 armor. On the melee row, end of turn ability triggers twice. So end of turn ability could be many things, right? Like it could have an infuse on it, which gives it 1 coin or 1 point, and it could also be boosting itself. That's gonna go off twice, which is interesting. Okay, we'll see what that applies to. Okay, so first we have changes to neutrals. Alyssa Henson. So provision cost changed from 7 to 8, meaning she's getting nerfed. Okay, they're making her more expensive. Makes sense, seeing that she's included in golden kicker lists as well as Vanna Dane lists. Okay, Garrison, boost a unit by 10. So Garrison will now cost 11 provisions, which is quite a bit. And ability change to Resilience. Deploy, spawn and play a base copy of a bronze soldier from your starting deck. Okay. Order, boost an allied soldier and all its copies by 1 and give them 1 armor. Alright. Not too bad, though for 11 provisions, quite a bit. So what does this essentially do? It plays a bronze soldier, which has a cap of what? 5 provisions? Basically, perhaps 6. Boost an allied soldier and all its copies by 1 and give them 1 armor. Okay. I guess. Yeah, okay. I guess you can build your deck around it. I guess you could swarm and you could play like... Yeah, blue stripes essentially. Maybe put Kudwani Revenant in it. Okay. I can see that happening. Then next up we've got Peasant Militia. Peasant Militia. So none of these cards are actually being played, and now CDPR is incorporating into the game, which is nice. So Peasant Militia. Power change from 2 to 4. Ability change to whenever you play a unit with deploy, boost self by 1. Wow, this is a horrible card in its current state though. Damn. It's a 4-point card. It's so bad. Okay, so power change from 2 to 4. Good. Whenever you play a unit with deploy, boost self by 1. Okay. Could be better. Yeah, okay. It's sort of like the Nilfgaard one. The Nilfgaard deploy. I think it's a 4. Yeah, the Nausicaa Sergeant. Whenever you play a unit with deploy, boost out by 1. Yeah. So basically that. If you build your deck around it, sure, it will play for some points. Not bad, not amazing. Cheers, Badge. Thanks for dropping by again. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good one. So next up, we've got monsters. Okay, monsters. Let's see what monsters has for us. Firstly, we have the Bridge Troll. Okay, Bridge Troll. Another card that nobody plays. Ability change to Death Wish. Boost the lowest power allied unit by 4. Okay, so it changed from highest to lowest. Okay. I don't know how this helps, because your Thrive units like Neckers and Endrega Warriors are normally your lowest units, so boosting them doesn't help per se. But I guess there's a reason for it. We can't see yet. Then we have the Kalina Harpy. There we go. Provision cost change from 5 to 4. Consume an allied unit. Bonded. Spawn a harpy egg in this row. That's a really good fall provision card. Consume an allied unit. Bonded. Spawn a harpy egg in this row. That's really good. Huh. For 4 provisions. Okay. Okay, that's definitely a buff. Next up, another buff to consumes. It is the Endrega Warrior. Endrega Warrior, ability change to deploy. Consume your adjacent units. For each consumed insectoid, gain 1 charge. So normally it would just spawn a drone in this row for each insectoid consumed. Now you get a charge. Zeal order, spawn a drone on this row, charges 1. Okay, so it does what it did normally, except now you can choose when you want those to be spawned. And you get an extra charge. So that means 3 drones instead of 2, which is a tiny buff. Not too shabby. It's alright. It is alright is what it is. Then we have the Giant Toad. Okay. Currently, Giant Toad consumes an allied unit. When you play a Deathwish unit, summon self from your graveyard to the same row, consume it, and gain Doomed. Now, power change from 3 to 4, ability change to deploy, consume an allied unit. When you play a Deathwish unit on your ranged row, summon self from your graveyard to the same row, consume it, and gain Doomed. Interesting. Interesting. That is definitely a buff, because now you don't have to waste your consume on a Deathwish unit you don't want to eat. So you can play your Deathwish unit on your melee row if you don't yet want the Giant Toad to come up. So that's a very interesting buff to consumes. Interesting direction we are going in. Okay, next up we've got the Hybrid. Not hybrid, yeah, hybrid. Hybrid. If a unit was consumed during this turn, boost self by 4 or consume unit. Now, ability change to if a unit was destroyed during this turn, boost self by 5. Ranged, consume an allied unit. Interesting. Interesting. The Nilfgaard spam. Hey, Adoc, we haven't looked at it yet. We are well on our way though. That doesn't sound very good though. Next we have the Siren. Okay, boost an ally by 1. If it's a beast, boost it by 3. Power change from 3 to 4. Provision cost change from 4 to 5. Ability change to order. Consume an allied unit. Death Wish, boost adjacent units by 2. Interesting. So the consume card is also a Death Wish card. And it has the potential to play for 4 points extra. It's also consume. And it's a 4-point card. So 8-point card. 5 provisions. Plus it's a consume card. Not bad. So Succubus. Adrenaline condition change from 3 to 4. Don't gain Doom. At the end of your turn, if there is another Succubus in your graveyard, summon self from your graveyard to a random row and gain Doomed. Summon self from your graveyard to a random row and gain Doomed. Adrenaline 3. Don't gain Doomed. So it's a buff. Not shabby. Hydration is of utmost importance. Next up is Skellige. And Skellige says, no changes. Amazing. Skellige doesn't need changes, I feel like. Skellige is in a pretty okay place at the moment. Next up, oh yeah, actually Skellige rarely gets any changes because it's been in a pretty okay place for a long time now. Next up is Northern Realms. Updated card recommendations. Interesting. Do they mean it will maybe light up or something to make it easier? Knighthood makes sense as a change because people played it and then stopped playing it because it just wasn't strong enough. So now this is changed from 10 to 9, which is adequate. After that we have the Knight Errant. When you build a deck with that leader, it'll recommend more relevant cards. And in the screen to pick an ability, there are the recommendations. Okay. Interesting. Power changed from 3 to 2. Armor changed from 0 to 1. Alright. So Grace takes longer to trigger, essentially. Cool. So no real changes to Square Tile then. I mean Northern Realms, I'm already on the next one. Square Tile has been changed. Square Tile has a very specific change, and that is the change of Milva Sharpshooter. Provision cost change from 10 to 11. Makes sense? Makes sense. Yeah, that's it. Next is Nilfgaard. Let's get to the real changes. Dear gosh. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Wait, it doesn't stop. Oh dear. Shinmiri's gonna have to go on all night. What? Okay, let's start with Nilfgaard then, shall we? Whew. Imperial Formation. First change, Imperial Formation. Ability change to Order. Boost 2 allied units by 1. Swap their positions. Then give 1 armor to each targeted soldier. Charges 4. Okay, normally this was very straightforward. You boost an allied unit by 2, you do this 3 times. Once all charges are used up, move a unit from your deck to the top. Normally that would be a fun. And whenever you play a soldier, give 1 armor for each adjacent soldier. So now, Order, boost 2 allied units by 1, which is still 2 points. Swap their positions, then give 1 armor to each targeted soldier. Interesting. Charges 4. So better, for sure. Next, we're gonna see a change to a fun. Okay. Power changed from 5 to 3. Provision cost changed from 7 to 10. Ability changed to, when you use your leader charge, play this unit from your deck. Order, boost all allied soldiers with armor by 1. When you use your last leader charge. Interesting. Okay, very interesting. So definitely Swarmy. I can see why you guys were warning me about Nilfgaard Swarm. I can see that happening. So then we have Albrecht. Albrecht. Move any card from your deck to the top if it's a unit boosted by 2. Provision cost change from 6 to 7. Ability change to, when moved to the top of your deck, boost a random ally. Wait, provision change from 6 to 7. Ability change to, when moved to the top of your deck, Boost a random allied unit by 2 and boost self by 2. Okay, so we're just gonna have to move him to the top of our deck somehow. Because normally he moves something to the top of the deck. That teen on drugs. I appreciate your message. That's really awesome. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. That makes me very happy. Ardal Ayep Dahe. Let's check that out, shall we? Ardal. Okay, so nobody plays this card. Deploy abilities minimum power requirement changed from 0 to 2. If neither player has passed and your opponent's hand is not full, move a non-doomed enemy unit with power up to 0 to your opponent's hand, then draw a card. Increase the maximum value by the number of tactics in your starting deck. Okay, so it starts with 2 now, making it a buff. Interesting. Next is Cadaverine. Oh no. Oh no. They're making it stronger. Provision cost changed from 9 to 7. Poison an enemy unit and spawn a base copy of it on the opposite row. So this is now a 7 provision card. Interesting. That could be problematic. After that we have Emir Var Emrys. Power changed from 7 to 4. Armor changed from 0 to 2. Provision cost changed from 10 to 13. Ability changed to deploy. Play a bronze soldier or aristocrat from your hand, then draw a card. Whenever your opponent plays a unit, give it spying. Order sees a 1 power enemy unit with spying, devotion. At the end of your turn, refresh this card's order. Okay. So this is very buffed because you actually get to play a card now. And you draw a card. Interesting. Next is Rinse. Rinse provision cost change from 13 to 12. So Rinse is simply more affordable, and he has always been a pretty strong card if he's viable enough to include in the deck. So yeah, definitely gonna see Rinse. Next is Stefan. Okay, provision cost changed from 9 to 11. Ability change to deploy. Spawn and play Ace Up the Sleeve for each 3 tactics in your starting deck. So for every 3 tactics you have in your deck, you get to play Ace Up the Sleeve. So you can't spawn and play a copy of the last tactic card you played this round anymore, meaning you can't play double Cadaverine. That's not fun. So doomed, damage an enemy unit by 2. So that seems significantly weaker than what Stefan normally did. Unless you pair that with something else that wants as many tactics as possible to be played in a turn, like Hefty Helge. Otherwise, this really sucks. But I guess you do want to pair it with a bunch of tactic engines. That would make it very strong. Yeah, you'd have to go all out tactic. Hey Demus, hello, and hey Kyle. How are you guys doing? Interesting. Okay, well next up we've got Tibor. Tibor. Tibor for Hyperthin decks. Power change from 13 to 15. Provision cost change from 9 to 13. Ability change to immunity. At the end of your turn, infuse a random enemy unit with, whenever this unit receives a status, damage itself by 1. Whenever this card enters the battlefield, your opponent draws a card. Okay. If your opponent has passed or the hand is full, damage itself by 12 instead. Okay. So it doesn't just it doesn't summon it. It allows you to draw a card, which is good. And it also doesn't allow you to abuse it. So if your opponent has passed in round 3, this card won't be playing for 15 points. It will be playing for 3 points. Yeah, 3 points if it damages itself by 12. So interesting. It has immunity as well, which is scary because your opponent can't interact with it. Infuse a random enemy unit with, whenever this unit receives a status, damage itself by 1. So if infuse abilities, that means the card should be able to have more than one of those infuses on them, making it even more strong, like doing double the damage. And you still want Tibur in a Hyperthin deck because now it's 15 points. Doing awesome. It's a holiday, so it doesn't get much better than this. That sounds amazing. Any update on your school travel situation? It appears like it's probably not going to happen this year because I haven't received my visa and I can't study abroad without a visa. So it is what it is, but there's literally nothing I can do to speed this process along. Probably will have to reapply as soon as possible and extend it by a year so I can go into it without any hassle and I can be relaxed, because I need to be relaxed if I'm going to do a master's degree. That's going to push me over the edge anyway. So I can't go into it not knowing if I'm allowed to stay there, blah 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 blah. I need everything like to go according to plan. It's okay though, don't worry. I'm okay. That's the third classic Hyperthin cards that gets a change. Hey Valentine. Imagine having only one card on this board. This card gets the infusion and every turn Tibur takes it down. Yes, exactly, Summer. Exactly. Like double, triple, quadruple infusion. And every time it triggers it as well, meaning the infusion is going to damage the card multiple times. My PC is slowly breaking down. I fear I won't be able to finish my edit. No, Torek, no. Make sure you have a backup file, please. You don't want your PC to accidentally break because that could be a huge problem. What was that? Anime World. Sorry, this just popped up on my... I was like, wait, what was that? Anime World is one of the top streamed categories right now. I don't even want to know. Does that mean you might be available to do the thing I'm planning for the November? Yeah, September, October, November, December. Most likely, yeah, most likely. I should be available. I should be available, but I can't think of anything that would prevent me from doing so. No. Erebracht, a cadet house of Van Murlem. Let's check out the next one, which is Vrygef. Okay, Vrygef. Vrygef is already a pretty strong card. Power change from 4 to 7. Provision cost change from 8 to 6. Ability change to Zeal Order. Trigger the end of turn abilities of 2 allied bronze soldiers. Trigger the deploy abilities of adjacent bronze soldiers. End of turn abilities. That doesn't sound nearly as good, right? Because the end of turn ability is... It's one thing if you pick an engine, but if you pick a card that builds up to its end of turn ability, or it's a once-off end of turn ability, I guess you could get even more out of it. Though this does feel like it's a significant nerf. Like it doesn't do what it did do as in its current form, which is allow you to replay soldiers with the deploy ability. Next up, we've got War Council. War Council, okay. Tutor card. War Council is now an artifact. Provision cost changed from 8 to 12. Now has location. Ability changed to resilience. Deploy. Look at the first 3 cards from the top of your deck and play one of them. Order, spawn and play battle preparation. Okay. Yeah, so it's way better. Not bad. It costs more though. That's something you should take into mind. It does cost more. Okay, well, still playable and still does what it did do in a sense. Next is the Alba Pikeman. Okay, Alba Pikeman. So, power changed from 4 to 3. Ability changed to flanking. Okay, we see the flanking ability. Order, give an enemy unit bleeding 1. Charges 0. At the end of your turn, gain 1 charge. If this unit has at least 3 charges, gain 1 armor instead. So, basically, you can target any card. It doesn't target a random card. You can also get armor if you really want to get armor. And with the flanking ability in effect, if this unit is adjacent to only one other card on your melee row, its end of turn abilities trigger twice, meaning you get 2 points per turn instead of 1. I don't see why you'd ever play that on the range row for 2 armor though, but it's something you could do if you really wanted to, I guess. Bye that team. I hope you have a good night and a great week. Okay, so Alba Pikeman, interesting. I guess it's definitely a plus. It did get better. Next is the Artfian Crossbowman. Thank you for the follow, Honey Shiva. I should probably put this on. Artfian Crossbowman. There we go. Okay. Ability change to flanking. Deploy. Damage an enemy unit by 2. Barricade. At the end of your turn, damage a random enemy unit by 1 if you played a soldier this turn. At the end of your turn. Damage a random enemy unit by 1 if you played a soldier this turn. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so at first glance it appears like a nerf, but then it has flanking, meaning if you play it on the melee row as intended, it will do 2 points of damage if you played a soldier. And on the range row it can get more and more and more armor, so it retains the barricade. So you can pick. The nerf would be, I guess, if you were planning on playing more than one soldier in a turn. But you can't really do that, can you? It depends. It depends if you have a ultra mega move planned out where you incorporate a bunch of things at the same time. But all in all, this is better, I'd say. Far better. Okay, next up we've got Artfian Light Cavalry. Artfian Light Cavalry. You don't have to deploy it in the melee row. No, I know. But it has flanking, meaning if you want it to go off more than once in a turn, you want to play it in the melee row, because that's how flanking works. So it's ideal to play it in the melee row if you want to do 2 points of damage a turn. So Artfian Light Cavalry. Armor change from 0 to 1. Provision cost change from 4 to 5. Ability change to flanking. Okay, same thing. Barricade. At the end of your turn, damage the last unit played by your opponent by 1. Okay. So it's a 5 provision card that does up to 2 points of damage a turn. That's not bad at all. So you get a 2-point engine from a 5 provision card. Thanks for the follow, Ibra. Interesting. It does begin with 1 armor though, so it's easy to get rid of the armor if you play it in the melee row. But if you play it in the range row, it will continuously get armor and remain a 1-point engine, so that has a lot of potential. It's also a soldier, so it's very synergistic with the whole soldier swarm deck. Artfian Heavy Cavalry. Okay. Power changed from 3 to 4. Armor changed from 2 to 0. Provision cost changed from 4 to 5. Flanking. At the end of your turn, gain 1 armor. Ranged, when this unit reaches 5 armor, move south to the melee row. Okay, so it gets 2 armor a turn if you play it in the range row with flanking. Meaning it will move to the melee row even faster. Melee. If it has armor, whenever your opponent plays a unit on their side of the battlefield, lose all armor and damage it by the same amount, then lock south. So, for 5 provisions, you get a 4-point card. You get a 4-point card that will get 2 armor per turn on the range row if you played with flanking, meaning if it doesn't interact with any other card, it will have 6 armor by the time it goes through to the melee row. If that happens, it will do 6 points of damage potentially, and it will therefore be a 10-point card for 5 provisions. And then it locks itself. I don't know. It's okay. I don't know. It doesn't sound fun to play against it, but it's alright. I don't know. We'll have to see it in action, to be fair. Get ready to defend. Hey, Rimnik. Okay. Next up, we've got the Combat Engineer. Let's check that out, shall we? Combat Engineer. Okay, Combat Engineer. If you control an artifact, boost self by 3 points. Ability change to deploy. Give 1 charge to all allied machines in hand, deck, and on the battlefield. That's interesting. Oh, and I see we've got a raid from Lionheart. Welcome everybody from Lionheart's chat. Now, how many machines do we actually have in Nilfgaard is what I'm wondering. Not a lot. We've got Hefty Helga, which we'll want to play in a tactic deck. We've got Rottosser, I guess, with the what's the card's name? Cadaverine. We've got Mantlet, which I guess makes sense if you're relying on armor. We've got Fire Scorpion, which we 100% want with Hefty Helga. We've got this card. We've got Wagon. No. And we've got Wagenberg. Probably none of those. Let's go over to the next one, shall we? We've got the Artfian Crossbowman, Artfian Light Cavalry, Heavy Cavalry, Soldier, Engineer. Okay, so we're at the Darlan Soldier. Let's check that out, shall we? So Daeerlan. This makes sense if we're going to go all out Swarm. Power change from 3 to 2. Provision cost change from 5 to 4. Ability change to. If you control a soldier, summon all copies of this unit from your deck to this row. At the start of the game, spawn a copy of self in your deck. At the start of the game, spawn a copy of self in your deck. So you're going to get 3 of these, and they're going to come out of your deck as a thinning method. Power change from 3 to 2, provision change from 5 to 4. If you control a soldier, summon all copies of this unit from your deck to this row. At the start of the game, spawn a copy of self in your deck. So you'd have 3 of them, right? You'd have 3 of them because you spawn one automatically in your deck. It's not the start of round, start of game. So you're going to play one of them for 2 points, and you're going to get the other 2 out of your deck, hence thinning quite a bit. So seems like a must if you're going to go all out soldier swarm. Next we have the Ducal Guard. Okay, Ducal Guard. Okay, so this was also an assimilate card. I guess it's not. Flanking. At the end of your turn, boost south by 1 if you used your leader ability this turn. At the end of your turn, boost south by 1 if you used your leader ability this turn. Okay, well, we have 4 leader charges, right? So with flanking, we have the potential of playing a 12-point for provision card. But you're gonna have to literally play this at the perfect timing. In most cases, you probably get a 6 or an 8 for 4 provisions. It's very conditional. That's basically it. Okay. Provision cost change from 5 to 4. Alright. Ability change to. Damage all spying units on the opposite row by 1. Interesting. Okay. So, what's the cap of that? You've got a full provision card that plays for 4 points with a cap of 9, so 13 points. 13 points. So how do we manipulate it? By playing Tibor, I guess. Also, your opponent will have to make sure not to row stack, which would be the obvious mistake. Could I start the course online and then continue in person? I guess? I'm not sure. I'm going to email my lecturer tomorrow and ask. Because this is a very hands-on course, because of its nature. Thanks for the follow, Dead Slave. Yeah, basically I'm going to have to do a lot of practical work in person. So if I miss too much of that, it will sort of be a waste. Okay, next up we've got Magne Division. Magne Division. Power change from 3 to 2. Provision cost change from 4 to 5. Ability change to. Play a tactic from your hand, then draw a card. Play a tactic from your hand and draw a card. Okay, so it's a thinning card. It's a thinning card. That's what it is. Interesting. Next up, we've got Nausicaa Brigade. Let's check that out. Nausicaa Brigade. Power change from 3 to 1. Armor change from 0 to 1. Provision cost change from 4 to 5. Ability change to. If your opponent has won a round this game, summon self from your deck to a random allied row when you play a soldier. So another thinning card, essentially. A lot of thinning cards that kind of make me think like this is going to be a Nilfgaard spawn meta. That's kind of insane. That's a lot of thinning cards. But only if your opponent has one around, which makes it very spicy. Interesting. Interesting. Nausicaa Sergeant. Provision cost change from 4 to 5. Ability change to... If your opponent has one around this game, spawn and play battle preparation. Another card that benefits you only if you've lost a round. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, that totally gives you the option of abusing your Nilfgaard opponent if they have to give up a round. Well, at the same time, Nilfgaard will be like this. I have to win round 1. I win round 1. I dry pass round 2, losing the round. Go into a long round 3, spawn the living hell out of my opponent with all my thinning cards popping out onto the board. Easy clap, I win. Ointment is next. Hey Rich, what's up? I'm okay, how are you doing? I am quite okay. I'm still sort of digesting the possibility of not getting to study this year. But other than that, everything's going very well, thank you. Boost the unit by 5. If it's a soldier, heal it first. Boost an allied unit by 5. If it was a bronze soldier, trigger its end of turn ability. It's okay, depending on what the end of turn ability is. End of turn ability could really be something simple like doing 2 points of damage. It could be quite simple, so it depends what end of turn abilities we are referring to here. Next up we've got the recruit, power change from 3 to 4, ability change to order, play a bronze soldier from your deck, then shuffle self into your deck. So many thinning cards, this is absolutely insane. I'm curious to see how this deck plays out. You're gonna want to abuse the thinning potential, maybe go for a hyper thin deck as well. Next is the Slave Driver. Slave Driver. Power change from 2 to 4. Provision cost change from 4 to 5. Ability change to deploy. Damage a bronze allied unit by 1. Then spawn a 1 power copy of it on this row. If it was a soldier, spawn and play the copy instead. Okay, that's spicy. Okay, so you get to play another copy of a card, essentially. Not shabby. Did they do any changes to Symbiosis or Thrive deck? Hey Dodo, they did not. They made only a Mulva Sharpshooter change, increasing its provision by 1. And no Thrive changes, just Consume changes mostly. We haven't gotten to the end of everything yet, though. Next we have the Slave Hunter. Are they taking away Assimilate? This is so interesting. To be fair, none of these Assimilate cards are ever played, so perhaps they seem sort of irrelevant. Provision cost change from 5 to 4. Ability change to damage an enemy unit by 1. Increase the damage by 1 for each adjacent soldier, so potential of 3 points. If the target is left at 1 power, very specific, spawn a 1 power locked copy of it to the right of itself. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. I feel like I don't really want to do that. I don't really want you to have another copy of your card. Provision cost change from 5 to 4. Excellent. Next we have the Spotter. Okay. Spotter. Power change from 5 to 4. Ability change to deploy. Look at the top 3 units in your opponent's deck, then choose one and gain armor equal to its power. Order, look at the top units in your deck up to the amount of armor on self, then choose one, gain vitality equal to its power. If it was a bronze soldier, boost self by that amount instead. Okay, So I guess you go with the boost, because vitality will rarely play out for that much. Huh. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Next we have the Van Moerleghem student. Van Moerleghem student. Student. Servant. Ability can no longer copy infusions. Yes. This change was made in a pre-release hotfix. This means that tooltip is not updated and ability still has old effect versus AI. Both of those issues will be resolved in 10.10. We apologize for the inconvenience. Apology accepted. Okay, and that is it for Nilfgaard. Dear gosh, what a nice rework. I am actually pretty happy with that. Like, they rework cards that we never saw in play, making them viable again. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Obviously, we can't really tell yet, but I look forward to seeing the potential decks coming out of this. We've got the Salamandra Hideout. Now has the Salamandra tag. Okay, that does play a role when it comes to the Shady Vendor. Because if Shady Vendor plays stolen mutagens, if you control at least 2... Oh, it's not a unit, is it? So then I don't know why it matters. Failed experiment. Fee changed from 3 to 4. Oof. Ouch. Okay, to be fair, I get it. They've been nerfing this card to hell recently. Interesting. Okay. Does this count as a spender now because it's so expensive? I feel like it does. Last turn failed experiment should do the trick. Game fixes. Units with veteran are no longer blocked from having their base power increased if locked during round transition. The infusion from Bjorn's Drakkar no longer fails to trigger if the damage dealt to the target was fully mitigated by armor. Yes, because that's exactly what happened to us. I knew it was a bug. That was so infuriating. It completely blocked out all of the Bjorn Drakkar ability. Thank gosh. Fallen Rela now correctly poisons units that are replayed through teleportation. Okay. Flinder's crew no longer loses all its counters when locked in hand by Prophet. Interesting. Redea now spawns a random neutral stratagem rather than a fixed one on the melee row if the leader has been changed to neutral through range 3. Eternal Eclipse Initiate, Master of Puppets, and the Curse of Pride are no longer able to bypass defenders under certain circumstances. Master of Puppets being able to bypass a defender sounds like pure hell. Lake Guardian, Dawn Aspect, and Gudrun Bjorn's daughter now have provision costs matching the scenarios. Okay. Well, there you go, chat. That is the fixes. I am quite satisfied. I'm quite happy with what I saw. Well, what are your thoughts? Throw them at me. There's not really a lot in the other decks to discuss, but the Nilfgaard changes sure are pretty specific.